Next question, and we're going to approach it in a very familiar way where we're going to read the question sentence first. How much does the contractor pay? So, this is a nice question to remind you that not all the time are we going to see the math that we need to do in that question sentence. Sometimes we need more context. All we can tell about this before we actually look at our information is that we just want to know how much the contractor pays. That's it. That's really all we care about. How much does this contractor pay? It doesn't tell us the math, it tells us the goal. So when I read here, it says a hardware store sells nails at 30 cents per ounce. A contractor buys this much weight or this many nails by weight. So everyone, help me out. If the nails are selling for 30 cents an ounce, so per ounce, what idea do we need to multiply this by to get the total cost? Who knows? What is the idea that we need to multiply by to get the total cost? Don't include a number, just give me a word. If it's 30 cents per ounce, we need to multiply by the number of blank. Yeah, there we go. We need to multiply by the number of ounces. If you don't recognize that, don't worry. I have an example that I know you'll recognize. Who here recognizes the distance equals rate times time formula? Who recognizes it? Oh yeah, a lot of folks here, right? Some PTSD as well. So think about it like this. When you're dealing with a rate, you typically have, let's say 20 miles per hour. And so what you'll typically do, you'll be multiplying by the number that represents hours. So we could say 3 hours. All this to say, everybody, is that you're always, when you're multiplying or when you have this rate here or this unit per ounce, we will multiply by the number of ounces to get the final price. You always multiply by this, the thing after the per, to get the total amount. So before I continue, does that make a little more sense as to why in this problem, we are going to figure out what the number of ounces is, and we will multiply by that amount? Does that make a little more sense here before we get started with the calculation? All right, cool. So let's go ahead and do that. So sweet, I'm reading the problem. Oh, look at that, nice and easy. I see 12 ounces, everybody. So if I throw in the number 12, am I done? Is that it? Are we good? No, I'm just trolling you, right? No, that's not gonna work because I know, yeah, it says 12 ounces, but that's not the entire weight. The entire weight here is 6 pounds and 12 ounces. So here's what we need to do. The 12 ounces, we can leave it as is because that's already in ounces. But the 6 pounds, we have to turn that into ounces. Got to turn it into ounces so we can perform our multiplication. Everyone, if you didn't know it already, 1 pound is equal to 16 ounces. So with that said, everyone, am I going to be multiplying or dividing by 16 to turn 6 pounds into ounces? Yeah, we're going to be multiplying. We're going from a big unit to a small unit. And so we will be multiplying by that conversion. That conversion number is 16. So let's go ahead and do 6 multiplied by 16. Let's write that out here on the side. 16 multiplied by 6, that's 36. Carry the 3. 1 times 6 is 6. Carry the 3 is 9. So we have 96 ounces that we will be multiplying by. Now we're ready to actually solve. So notice how this was a problem of just multiplication, but the problem was that we had to convert first. Now that we've converted, we are now good to go. Let's remove that from the frame and let's perform 96 multiplied by 30 cents. When we're multiplying by decimals, remember to just ignore the decimal and bring it back later. Here we go. So we have the 30 cents. And before we actually continue, there may be one thing that we did forget, everyone. There may be one thing that we forgot. What was that going to be? Yeah, the 12, the extra 12 ounces. So look at that. I'm human, just like you, prone to making a mistake, but thankfully we caught it here right there in the middle. We have the 12 ounces that we have to add on at the end. Everyone, if we take the 96 ounces and we add the extra 12 ounces, what do we end up getting? Yeah, we end up getting 108. So let's add that in. Plus the 12 ounces, we end up getting 108 ounces. And so that's how we'll get right over here for 108. Now we're ready to multiply. Now we can do it. So let's remove that and then just make this a little smaller. Put that over there. And now we can multiply here with 108 multiplied by 30 cents. So again, we'll leave the decimal place alone. We'll bring it back at the end. So we have 8 times 0, 0 times 0, 1 times 0. And then we'll place a 0 here for the next one. 8 times 3 is 24, carry the 2. 0 times 3 is 0, carry the 2 is 2. And then 1 times 3 is 3. Add that all together, and we get 3,240. But don't forget that we have 2 decimal places that we're bringing back, and that's what we bring back right there. 2, that goes 1, 2, to make $32.40. That's going to be the correct answer here, my party people. Answer choice A. All right, next question up. So to tackle this question, we're going to begin by understanding that it says, what is her final elevation? So we really want to understand, hey, what's our final position? Elevation is just position, but vertically. We can have an elevation or a depth, but seriously, elevation is just distance, but vertical. So here we go. What we're going to do now is we're going to say that, hey, a climber here starts at 3,200 feet, and then it ascends at this rate and time, and then ascends again at this rate and that time. So my party people, let me know when we see the word ascend, every time we see it, what are we doing with those respective distances? What are we doing there? Yeah, we're going to be adding. Absolutely. We're going to be adding. So we start off at 3,200 feet in elevation, then ascending at 500 feet per hour for 6 hours. Well, let's figure out what that is. So a rate of 500 feet per hour times 6 hours, that's going to give us 3,000 feet. And we'll be adding that. And then lastly, we're going to be looking at ascending again, and that's at 400 feet per hour multiplied by 4 hours. So that'll be 1,600 feet. So once we add all of this back together, we're going to end up getting 32 plus 30. So that's 6,200. And then we add the remaining 1,600 feet at the end. And this makes this a pretty straightforward question, with the final answer being 7,800 feet of elevation is where we end up at. And there we are, everybody. Hopefully this is a good one for you, and hopefully the next one is too.